Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Today's episode is sponsored by Jane, a clinic management software and EMR that helps you handle your clinic's admin tasks so that you can free up your evenings and weekends. The Jane team understands how precious your time is and recognizes that charting can often be the most time-consuming, absolutely, admin task for practitioners. 1000%. That's why they're here to help. To save you from having to start your chart notes from scratch, you can check out Jane's template library, which is amazing. It gives you access to templates that have been generously created and shared by health and wellness practitioners in the community. Once you have a template that you like, you can choose to customize it further with charting tools such as range scales, text fields, checkboxes, and more. To see how Jane can help you spend more time doing what you love, just make sure you click the link in my bio to book a personalized demo. I say bio, and you know I mean show notes. Or if you're ready to get started, you can use my code LEX1MO at the time of sign up for a 1-month grace period applied to your new Jane account. Again, I'm going to put the link in the show notes, as well as you can use my code LEX1MO at checkout to get a 1-month grace period for your new Jane account. Welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. I'm super excited. I'm recording this episode. You'll be listening to it tomorrow on Monday. I'm recording it tonight on Sunday night. It's been one hell of a week. Let me just start by saying that. If you're new here, I always start off with personal and business updates, and then I'll jump into the episode. The episode's going to be really light today. I had an idea pop into my head today as I was looking at some things online, and I'm just going to riff on it because I think it's important for other people to hear if you're considering doing something like this. So, with that being said, let's do personal, then business, then we'll jump in. So, personal stuff, Moose is, this week has just been a lot. So if you have a dog or if you don't have a dog, some dogs are allergic to fleas. So even if they have flea medication and they don't have fleas, they can still get bitten by fleas, but not have fleas, but get bitten and then have an allergic reaction. That's where we're at today. Well, that's where we were at. So the long and the short is at some point in the last 2 weeks, week and a half, we're not exactly sure when, there was some type of place where she was bitten by fleas. Now, she does not have fleas. I want to make sure I make that very clear. Not that I give a shit. Like, she had fleas last year. California, also, by the way, where we live in the South Bay, there's a lot of fleas here. Like, I came here and the vet was like, you need to be on flea medication Moose needs to be on flea medication. And that might not even stop them because the fleas are so wild here. So anyway, at some point she got bit and she was scratching a little bit. And then we woke up on, let's see, it would have been Thursday. And she had a second hot spot. The first one she had, I'm not sure if she was bit by a flea or if she genuinely just had like an itchy spot. Anyway, she's never had hot spots in her entire life. And now this whole week has been a fucking nightmare. But anyway, so she had a hot spot on her back end and it was probably the size of like a $50. Like, it was big, and she was supposed to get groomed. They won't groom her if she has a hot spot because it's not good for her and infection and what have you. So brought her to the vet that day. They gave her antibiotics. They, told us how things, we've been doing red light like crazy. I've been putting fresh aloe. So we went and bought an aloe leaf, been putting fresh aloe on it, some spray that they gave us at the vet, and then some conditioning serum stuff. So anyway, it's been a nightmare because she needs to be groomed. She has mats. Like, we brush her, and Shantae literally is obsessed with basically feeling if she has mats. Like, she pets her all the time, and her hair is so long that she like walks and has a mat. So she needs to be cut regardless. However, like I had said last week, she was supposed to go to the groomer and now she hasn't gone. So I'm calling tomorrow because they said that they would fit her in because our groomer books out like a month and a half to 2 months out. So I'm like, she needs to be groomed. But anyway, so calling tomorrow. We'll see what happens, but what a nuisance. Red light, aloe, all the things. She's putting a cone on this dog. Like it was a nightmare. She wouldn't walk. She wouldn't sit. She wouldn't lie down. It was a pain. So I ended up putting one of my pairs of shorts on her and like tying them tight so she couldn't get them off because we didn't want her to bite it and lick it and whatever and scratch it. So anyway, it's been a week. We've been back and forth with the vet, and Shantae had a volleyball tournament all day Friday, which was amazing and fun. And we spent the whole day at the beach cheering her on, and Moose got to rest. And I think I talked to my mom and she was like, oh, the dog was home. And I was like, yes, she was sleeping all day. And honestly, she has been more of herself since Saturday morning. So she seems to be back to her regular self. So hoping that will blow over and we're all good. But I'm not entirely sure. I'm hoping. I'm also going to ask to see if we can get a prescription for a steroid so we don't have to go through this nightmare again. Because honestly, having to do this every time she gets a flea bite because she's allergic to fleas. I don't know if I said that before, but she is allergic to fleas. So any bite is going to cause her to have a reaction. So it's okay, well, can I have a medication for that so we can give it to her prophylactically, whatever, or just when she starts to itch. Anyway, so we'll figure that part out. I also will say, if you work at a vet or you are a vet or you go to the vet with your animal, the one thing that's really, really hard for me to wrap my head around is the fact that they bring the dog out of the exam room to do the things. I actually had to stop the vet from talking because I was like, hey, so what happened was I came in, they brought us into the exam room, asked me some questions, and then they took Moose to the back for the doctor to look at her. So this animal exam room is technically a human waiting room, but I digress. So they came back to the person who I talked to first, and the vet came back in, and Moose wasn't with them. And she started giving me the rundown of what to do and what's going on and asking me questions. And I was like, I don't mean to interrupt you. I was like, but where's my dog? Moose is not with you. Is she okay? They didn't even update me on how she's doing. Cause Moose also has I don't want to say anxiety, but she is taken away from me at the vet. And I mean, it's not exactly I mean this in the nicest way, but dogs don't really love to be ripped away from their owner. It just is a thing. If you have a dog, you know what they act like when they get taken away, quote unquote, by another person. So I was like, where is my dog? Is she okay? So anyway, I do not love that they take the dog out of the exam room and the dog exam room becomes a human waiting room for them to do anything. So that's kind of weird to me. Apparently one of my best friends, or my best friend, is basically she worked at a vet, and she was like, well, you can request that they do everything in the room. So that might be something I do down the road. But anyway, yeah, what a nightmare. But like I said, Shantae played in a volleyball tournament all day Friday. It was great. I love watching her. I love cheering for her. Her team was amazing. I had so much fun. It's great to be able to support your partner, and it was a master's league, so I could not play because I did not meet the age requirements. I always felt over the weekend, people were like, why aren't you playing? Because people, obviously if Shantae's playing, typically I'm playing there too. And I was like, I feel like such a jerk when I say this out loud, but I'm not old enough. So yeah, about that. But I did not meet the age requirements. And also I'm not assuming that I would be chosen for this team either, but just saying that's why I wasn't playing. But it was so fun to watch. I had so much fun watching. We hung out at the beach all day. And like I said, Moose got to rest all day. I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to talk about on this. Not really anything. It's just been when your dog is going through stuff, it's just it's a lot more energy that's taken out of your schedule, and out of your life. Business stuff, going through that really quick. Business updates. Number one, I started posting on YouTube, which is what today's episode is about. We'll talk about in a second. Number two, Lextramind. So mine and Shantae's group coaching program. It's a 9-month high-level, high-touch group coaching program for brick and mortar business owners who want to launch their first online offer. That wrapped up this month, so the end of July, and we're going to be opening up enrollment or applications in October to start in November for cohort number 2. So if you're interested or want to know more information, I'll link the info page in my bio, and feel free to drop your first name and email in there, and you can sign up to be notified when we open applications. I will tell you that last year we ran this as what we call a pocket launch. And if you don't know what a pocket launch is, we go over that in Lecturemind, but we ran this as a pocket launch. So the only people who knew about Lecturemind were people that were on the interest list. And I'll tell you that when we closed it and then we were talking about it and we were doing Lecturemind stuff on Instagram and posting about it, people were like, why didn't I know this existed? Why didn't I know that you guys were launching this together? Well, because it was a pocket launch. So we kept it just to the interest list, and we have applications. We have 8 seats. Like, it's very set in stone of how many people we take. So yeah, if you want to be notified about when applications open, feel free to fill out the form that's linked on the info page that I'll put in the show notes. Third thing, so it's Sunday, and because I took Friday and Saturday off, I knew today that I would have to do a little bit of work, or I wanted to make sure I did a little work today, including recording this podcast. And I was in Google Search Console just checking in on a bunch of my clients, because while it's not something I have to do today, I wanted to check in to see how people are doing. And I'm like, oh my God, all of these people are crushing in SEO land. And I received a couple DMs this past week from 2 people who are brick and mortar business owners, also online business owners, and they have new clients that are not located in the vicinity of where they practice, which means it's a non-local lead and they're booking with them. And that's obviously the goal, right? We're helping people from across the country, across the world. So kudos to them if they end up listening to this episode, and also kudos to all of the folks who are working with me actively. Everyone's stats are just crushing, and it makes me so, so happy. I feel like that's about it. We're now into August. I am definitely booking into September at this point. And I believe after I get back to a couple emails and a couple discovery calls, I think I'll only have 3 dates left for Do It in a Days in 2024. So if you're looking for a new website, please make sure you get on my list. So just book a discovery call. And if I've worked with you previously, typically you can send me an email and I'll recognize, I'll know the back end of your project, what have you, and then we can discuss stuff from there. But discovery call is always your best bet to book in. I know I'm booking out. I'm not surprised just because I have very limited availability. I've always said my retainer clients are my bread and butter because they are. So everything else around them is where I have coaching calls and Do It in a Days and discovery calls. So that is the lowdown. Okay, I think that's it. Let's jump into the episode. It's going to be relatively short. I wanted to talk about YouTube because I had been talking about starting a YouTube channel because I have a YouTube channel because I have a podcast. So my podcast automatically goes up onto YouTube. It's not a video podcast. It's just my cover art with audio with it. But people are listening to my podcast on YouTube, which is so interesting to me because I don't listen to podcasts on YouTube. So if you're listening to this and you're on YouTube, let me know, if you feel free to DM me or shoot me an email, whatever you want to do. And just let me know. I feel like it's really cool that people are listening to this on that platform because I never would have put it there until I had heard about it from Doc Joe O, who is the YouTube guy. So Instagram is Doc, D-O-C, Joe, J-O-E-O. And he's the YouTube guy. He definitely helped me with starting my channel, but I was like, people listen to podcasts here? No way. And then I started putting it up and I was like, oh my God, people do listen to podcasts here. So finding it really, really cool that I added that. But in the past 2 months, I've been talking about potentially starting a YouTube channel and putting up videos that are video tutorials of things that I'm talking about on Instagram or on coaching calls, what have you. So today's episode, I just want to run through a couple things that, I'm embracing as I'm starting this, and also just general stuff. So one of the things that I talked to Joe about, I was chit-chatting back and forth with him about potentially starting it and then why I wouldn't want to start it. And one of the biggest hangups for me is why I wouldn't want to start it is just because YouTube is there for, I don't want to say new leads, but truthfully it's new leads. People who are going to find you on YouTube are typically people who are not familiar with your ecosystem. And for me, that's pretty hard. I love when clients know about my background and who I am and how I operate and my values, and they're exposed to, how I do things before they just book a call with me and have some sort of assumption on how I operate. I think it's much easier on my end as far as like relating to those people because they're familiar with me. And also they have this expectation around the service that I'm going to be providing, and we're not just new to each other. So I do think it's hard to just get cold leads from YouTube. And the other thing too is like when it comes to doing tech tutorials, and I think, I put this in some of my posts, I've had to set a boundary around the tutorials because I don't want to become tech support. Because to be honest with you, becoming tech support for the things that I talk about ends up becoming a coaching call. And it's not fair to people who are booking coaching calls with me to essentially give people a coaching call in the DMs or in my email, what have you. So I was really hesitant to make a YouTube video because, while I also hear people aren't nice on YouTube, but I digress. I just don't want to have to become tech support via YouTube. And I think in the comment section and on Instagram, people typically will, understand that, and they don't, give me any sort of grief because of that. On YouTube, like I said, people aren't familiar with me and they're not familiar with, my process and, how I operate, what have you. And so it made me a little apprehensive to start the channel. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm going to go through what my expectations are, but I decided to do it because I was like, you know what? Some of these things are much easier to show via video than an Instagram post. And even if I do show it via an Instagram post, I can also make a YouTube video about it. And to be honest with you, Joe and I were talking, and Joe is the YouTube guy. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to launch a channel. He knows what to change and add and what to not do, what to do. And he basically said, like, tech stuff does pretty well on YouTube. So if I were to ever want to monetize my channel and I reach the level of views and watch hours or whatever else, subscribers, to get monetized, I would have a good rate to be monetized for, because tech usually has a higher dollar amount than something like movement. So I don't know what's going to come of it. It's all a part of this whole like word of the year, elevate. And I truly don't think I can ever choose another word ever because I just did so many things this year because of my word of the year that I'm like, I don't really know if I could ever top this. Not that that's like the goal, but I just know that I put a lot of effort into this year's word of the year. So anyway, started that channel. The other thing that I want to say about it is, and what I learned about it was, it's valuable to have someone like Joe in your I don't want to say in your pocket, but like to hire him to go coach you. Because the thing is there are things that you have to like check and, add to your description, and how you write your description, and ways to write your show notes, ways to write your captions and video descriptions, and different things with the YouTube keywords and how to make the most out of them. And he went through and like taught me that stuff. And while I've been exposed to Joe in a couple different places and how he teaches and his teachings between my SEO school calls as well as Shantae's Mafia calls, Joe has taught a lot. And I've been exposed to YouTube stuff a lot through him. And I will say, like, having someone like him just go through your stuff to make sure it looks good and like you're checking the right boxes and like adding your descriptions accordingly and keywords correctly is super valuable. The next thing I want to just talk about is, if you're looking to start one, I feel like people are really hung up about the whole video thing. Now, mine is a little different because I can just record my face with my camera, and I am using a different software called Camtasia because it's able to record my screen and my face, and then I can choose what the layout looks like once I'm finished. So I thought that was pretty cool. I might change it and just do Zoom and like screen share and do that type of thing. I don't know yet. I'm still like kind of playing around with it, but I will just say, like, get started and flip your camera to the landscape version. So instead of having your camera up and down, have it sideways and just film something. I think people get really hung up on like what to do. And again, if you don't know how to start, just go ask Joe. Go hire Joe to do a coaching call with you so you know exactly what to do and what not to do, and start there. I feel like people just kind of bounce around and aren't sure what to do. And it's actually, once you get the coaching on it and you know what to do, it's just about execution, which is a whole other thing. Like, Joe will go over expectations, but my goal in a coaching call, obviously, my goal is to publish a video once a week. We're going to see how it goes. It might be less than that. I don't know. But once a week is my goal, and we'll go from there. Now, something that I made easy on myself is cover art. Could I design something really like great for my cover art? Absolutely. Will I probably change my cover art in the next couple months? Yes, I probably will. The reason why I chose the cover art for my first video that I did is because I was like, I want to publish this before my monthly newsletter goes out. I don't want to spend 2 hours designing this cover art. So I'm going to choose a design that kind of already exists within Canva, customize it accordingly, and upload it. I feel like we don't need to get complicated here. Let's just make it easy. So that's what I did. And I kept it simple. I didn't, I could have spent hours designing a piece of cover art, but that was not something that I wanted to do. I wanted to take my time and write my monthly newsletter, not design a piece of cover art that is not really that important. Like, yes, it's important. 1000% people, it's more clickable. People are going to click on it. But for me, I'm like, I'll put the title on it. I'll make it clickable. I'll make the words really big and I'll put my face on it. Other than that, I wasn't trying to like reinvent the wheel. Like, I'm just going to grab one that already exists, customize it, and use it. So yeah, I would say like that was something that I really just leaned into, make it easy. The other thing that I want to say, and probably the last thing I'll talk about, is that two things. One, I'm probably going to be doing video stuff, quote unquote, around my blog posts as well. So just taking what I'm writing in a blog post and making it into a YouTube video as well, and vice versa, because the content reads different and is obviously presented differently in a YouTube video versus a blog. And I think it's valuable to have a video demonstration and a written form. Obviously not the same thing, but just a video and a written, basically informational piece for both types of learners, whether you're a visual learner or you're someone who can read and learn. So yeah. And then lastly, the one thing that I want to talk about is just analytics. I am a person who divorces myself from analytics. I could not tell you how many people watch my story. I could not tell you how many people like my posts. I could not tell you how many people look at my account, follow me. I have no fucking clue. I don't look at analytics on Instagram. And like, I know that might sound wild, and I know that a lot of people do look at them, but I do not look at them. It's one of those things that I don't care. And what am I going to do? If my stats suck, am I just going to stop posting? No, I'm not. So for me, I'm like, okay, I don't look at it because it doesn't fucking matter. Same thing with YouTube. I'm like I said, not going to be looking at stats and beating myself up if I don't see that I have 20 followers or, barely any hours of watch time. What am I going to do? Just not do it? No, probably not. I'm probably going to do it anyway. So for me, I'm like, I'm just going to divorce myself from the stats behind everything and just post and really embrace what I would call the SEO-esque nature of YouTube, where content can become evergreen, and just posting and making sure that I check all my boxes that Joe had helped me with, and then go from there. So that's really all I wanted to talk about today, because I feel like people talk about YouTube and they want to know if they want to start a YouTube channel and what have you. And the biggest thing is like, I'm telling you now that I'm just starting. I don't know where it's going to go. Maybe in a couple years, I will do another podcast episode and update, and this update will sound very different. But for me, I'm like, I'm just starting. I'm going to do exactly what Joe had said. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that my videos don't need to be a ton of like crazy animations. It's simply just tutorials that I'm doing, or talking videos, and just go with it and see where I land and see if I can, get my feet in the YouTube world. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But if you're looking to get started in YouTube, like I said, I am shamelessly talking about Joe because he is a YouTube guy. I would love for you to reach out to him if you have questions. If you want to just go at it alone, also do your thing, like, of course. But he is who helped me out, and I am very happy that I'm starting. I wouldn't have said that before. It felt very intimidating, and now I'm like, okay, we got started. We can do this. It's not going to be a ton of extra work, and I can fit it into my schedule, so why not? So that's basically all I wanted to tell you. Little things that I'm paying attention to, and what I'm doing, how I made it easy on myself, and basically just that you can start if you want to start, and just set your expectations accordingly, right? And understand that if you're not going to be, I don't want to say not care about the stats, but like also if you just divorce yourself from the fact that, you have to do well in order to keep posting, of course, like that's the better option, right? You want to not think about that stuff because it's just going to stop you from posting new videos when in reality, your video could blow up a year from now, just like blogging and SEO. So that's all I have for you today. If you have questions about YouTube, don't ask me, ask Joe. Book a coaching call with him. I'll put his link to his Instagram in the chat. And then I'll also reach out to him to see if he has a direct link to schedule. I'm not sure if he allows for people to schedule discovery calls and coaching calls from his Instagram unless you talk to him first. So I will let you know. You'll see the link in the show notes if so. But that's all I have for you. If you want to check out my channel, I'll put a link in the show notes. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you subscribed, obviously that would mean a lot as well. The way that you succeed on YouTube is by having watch hours and subscribers. So I'll be posting tutorials there. I'll be linking them in my monthly newsletter, and then we'll see what happens. But that's all I have for you today. I will keep you updated on all the moose fiasco and see where this goes. But I will catch you next week.